The MXvice Show.
All right, welcome everybody to episode 146 of the MXvice Show. We have an action-packed show ready for you today, as always, as we look back on the incredible 2023 Motocross of Nations at Ernee and chat a little bit of silly season if we have time. I'm Stratmann, your host. Before we welcome our special guest and the great man Lorenzo Resta, who enjoyed a very busy weekend in France, the first part of the show is brought to you by Parts Europe. Parts Europe distributes spare parts, accessories, and rider equipment for all motorbike segments in Europe. We support the sport. Tagline is fortified through the Thor and Moose house brands and their support of world elite MX riders like Landry Prado, Langenfelder, Guadagnini, Jonas, Burgers, and 9 times world champ and Thor ambassador Tony Cairoli. Your Parts Europe dealer has access to all the big brands for your motocross and enduro bike, including Necken, Pro Circuit, FMF, ODI, Cycra, Renthal, Recluse, and many, many more are in stock and ready to be shipped. Check out their website at partseurope.eu or contact your local Parts Europe dealer. With a dealer network of over 10,000 shops, we're sure there is one close to you. All right, welcome Lorenzo Resta. How was the weekend, mate? Very busy one for you. Did an awesome job on the inside the paddock, showed lots of cool feedback. The fans loved it. There was lots of fans doing some crazy stuff live while you were interviewing, mate, like the guy doing the worm and the chainsaws, and just generally it was pretty awesome, mate. So that was a cool addition, and you were pretty much the perfect man to host it with your passion, knowledge, relationship with everyone in the paddock, not just the riders, everyone. So how was it, mate? And you managed to avoid getting that beer shoved down your throat.
Yes. I just, that was funny. Also, at the end of when we get away, because we were just closing the video at that time, then the guy said to me, "I give you, if you want to drink it by yourself, I give you my beer." That was crazy, but really nice. I mean, it was a crazy weekend. I'm still recovering a little bit because. As I told you, I'm getting older and it takes always more time. This time I was wearing 3 different jackets during the weekend. I was working, of course, for Motosprint, as is my main job. But then I was also working for MXoN for the first time in my life. So wearing this shirt and hoodie was like kind of big responsibility for me because I was feeling the weight to carry on the live for MXoN and like to try to give something new, something extra, some kind of behind the scene to the spectators, and that was the target that we planned with MXoN. I have some good feedbacks from a little bit all over the world, comments on the social, stuff like that, also on MXoN social. We would see maybe something that we can do it next year again, sometime during few GP, the busiest, the one with most spectators. So we don't know yet. It was just a trial, and we take it as it came. And the third jacket was the Dodge Ram jacket, as I did the animation. I was talking with the guys from the truck and invite them to come to check the trucks, to take some gadgets and stuff like that. So unfortunately, I was completely sick since Friday. So Friday morning, I had fever and I was destroyed. And you can feel it in my voice. On Sunday, the voice was completely down, over. I even could not talk in the morning, so trying to do whatever to recover. Eating honey, having pills and stuff just to try to talk. So it was quite tough, also because the nation, you have long days, and I was just changing my clothes every 15 minutes, then running on track, shooting the pictures, coming back on time before the end of the motos, change again, taking the microphone, put the everything on, and to listen the Paul Malin on TV. I had always the commentary of Paul when I was walking around the track shooting the pictures, to know what was happening, then to don't say bullshits during the live. And just after at the end of my live, I was taking away the in-front jacket, putting on the other one, jumping on a ram truck, and then jumping back on my photographer suit just to going taking some pictures, and then writing, of course, in the evening articles for the website. So it was a crazy weekend, but I had a lot of fun. And I have to say that the atmosphere was just great, just fantastic. It's difficult to find a place more enthusiastic for motocross. Everyone was happy, everyone was crazy, many people were drunk, but nobody were annoying, nobody was just annoying. They were just cool guys. I have to thank a lot of people, starting from in front, because they believed in this project. They wanted to take it on. I have to thank all the guys that I had on my interviews, that those interviews were in between the motos, where normally those guys are really busy, like Marcos Pereira de Freitas, like some riders, like Guadagnini, like many. And they all were so kind with me, waiting. And like Andrea Dovizioso, he could just say, yeah, I would do it on the grid, like he did. But he then also accepted, to meet me, and also all the people that permitted us to enter in their facilities, in their hospitalities, in their owning. And it was nice. It was just to me really nice. And thanks also to Lewis Phillips at the end, my last guest. That was quite funny, because we had then Paul Jonas coming, and Jeremy Sewer, and just stopping there,
Yeah,
but
it was great.
nothing was planned, so it was just cool, as you can imagine. And I had a lot of fun, and that's always the most important. Just sorry for my voice, because it was completely down, but I tried to just push with all the energy I had to let people understand from home how cool can be an event like this. Numbers were crazy, talking about more than 100,000 people in 3 days, with quite expensive tickets, hours of queuing just to buy the entrance of the paddock, hours of queuing just to buy the tickets for food, and everyone just enjoying the moment. I see also people that probably they will not remember nothing about this weekend. They were completely drunk since Friday morning till Sunday night, maybe Monday morning. They were lying on the ground mostly of the time, never on the track to see the riders, but they were so happy. So, okay, everyone enjoy in his way. To me, it was a little bit crazy to see those guys, but I can tell you that there were some people drunk from the morning to the evening with the really. And this time I could not go to the camping site. That's normally the craziest place during the weekend, because everything happened there, and it's a kind of trip to hell and back if you're able to come back. But I mean, I never saw violence. I never saw people like disturbing. So I saw just people a little bit crazier than normal, but everyone was enjoying the moment and the nations. What to me brings back again the nation on the top of the season as the most important event of the season, is where everything can happen, and probably is the moment where sport is more important than everywhere in the season, because of course we are doing a sport, we are competing for a sport, but it's a question of money, it's a question of sponsors, it's a question of prestige for the brands, it's a question of selling bikes. The nations is a bit different. Mostly of the federation, the teams, the manufacturer put their money just for the sport, just for one time, to create a unique opportunity to see nations fight or compete for one title. And it's the same if you see what happened with France, the team that is composed by 3 riders that normally hate each other completely. They don't talk each other. They would like probably to kill each other in normal time. They were working all together under the supervision of Gauthier Paulin in a fantastic atmosphere. Okay, sometimes something was a bit on the limit, like for example, at the end of the first moto and the second moto, they even didn't give each other a high five or stuff like that. They ignore completely themselves. And also, I think if Tom could have won this second moto at the race, he was trying everything. Yes, because there's something behind everything. But the magic is that for one day, they all do the same together, and they all work for the same target. And that's crazy. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's well said, mate. And you've got to give a lot of respect to the fans, obviously, because it's not cheap, paying out for the camping, the paddock passes, all that. And they just love the sport. And, they love supporting their nations for this special event. So they deserve so much credit for making it what it is, because without them, it's really nothing, is it, mate? And the atmosphere just looked absolutely incredible, mate. So, yeah, massive respect to the fans, and definitely hope to get to Madeley Basin next year myself to check it out. Obviously, my wife and I had a wedding this weekend, so we couldn't attend it this one, but definitely keen to get to next year, mate. But I guess just some other things about the weekend, all the costumes of the fans, the lit kits from the riders. There was so much colour, so much sort of vibrancy about it, mate. And just the event, the organisers put on a massive show, didn't they? And all those hospitality tents were so well done. So just a couple of other words about that. And, mate, just the sheer cost of everyone getting to the event, the travel, and then having to pay to get in there. It's a lot of respect for those guys, isn't it?
Yeah. So first of all, I tell you, and I guarantee you that the nation is much better than a wedding. So next time come to the nation, because it's way better. It's more expensive probably, but it's better.
Yes.
Then I can tell you that you perfectly said that the much respect for the fans, because without the fans, we could not do the event. First of all, because it costs a lot of money. And then because the atmosphere is probably 95% of the show, the atmosphere that they create. Let me tell you that on Sunday morning, I arrived on track like every day, like around 7:30, and I was walking up because it was like 500 meters up to the press room. That was really demanding. And arriving on top, I just put my stuff in my my place, and then I said, okay, let me see how it looks, the track without anybody, as it was almost still a little bit dark. And then my big surprise, like 1/3 of the public was already there, sitting, waiting for some action in the next hours, And I was like, oh my gosh, that is something that you will never see on a normal GP. And even for a nation is a little bit more than normal, like much more than Red Bud last year, even if it was fantastic also in Red Bud. So really, thanks to the fans for the atmosphere, for the effort they did, because coming there is not easy. It's far away from everywhere, far away from airports, far away from, and they come from really all over the world, from Australia to Canada, from USA to Germany, England, Greece, Belgium, Italy, whatever in Europe and in the world. And it's something amazing. And there is also another point that to me personally, as is my 20th season in motocross, my 19th Grand Prix of the Nation, as in 2020 we didn't have a GP of the Nation, that it should have been in Ernee, but it was cancelled for the pandemic. So let me tell you that find back some of the people that were competing in the MXGP or MX2 in past, and now they are like back in Australia, in America, or going there for riding, create their career, find them again in the same paddock. It's something that is quite, I would say, so nice, so almost romantic. I had the chance to chat with the father of the Lawrence brothers for quite a while, and having really a nice conversation, say, welcome back, how nice it is to see you, and how big progress your kids have done. Or Dean Ferris, for example, he saw me, and he said, hey, Lorenzo, and I was like, oh my gosh, he remembered my name. It's, and then the same is for some of the like Aaron Plessinger, as I was under the owning of KTM last year with Tony, and the people from the American team, always the same, and Roger Da Costa, and all those guys, So it's really, really nice. That's something just that sometimes create troubles are the new numbers and new colors.
Yeah.
The first like 2 practice, you look on track, like I swear, the first MXGP 3 practice, I was there, I was shooting picture. Then at the end, I said, wow, Tim Geiser is not riding. Then luckily, I watched my picture and I got him with 118, but it was because I didn't recognize him. I was looking for riders, but then I just missed him. But it's because this number story is a little bit wide. We have a proposal from someone, some fans in the paddock that is to give number 1 to the winning team, to all 3 riders, number 1. Number 2 to the team that went set. So, for example, next year, France, 3 number 1. Australia, 3 number 2. And with different color of the number plate, so you can recognize easily the class. And doing it like that will reduce a lot the numbers, and you can recognize the team easiest, in an easier way, because you say, oh, yeah, those are the winners. The French is the winner, so number 1 are the French team. On the other side, okay, maybe it can make confusion because who is running MXGP, who is riding an open class, you never know exactly. So it would be anyway a little bit difficult and tricky, but it's maybe a proposal that we can take in consideration, because then with 10 numbers, you have the top of the teams done already, because you will have all the best riders and the best teams. But anyway, as I said, it was fantastic. Races were, wow, just crazy. We will maybe talk about this now, but it was great. I'm still really enthusiastic, and believe me, I wasn't in past one of the biggest fans of the Motocross of Nations, even if I did few of the most beautiful. But it always take me a while. This time I was living it a little bit more intensely, and I really appreciate probably more than ever.
Oh, mate, it looked like it was absolutely awesome. And obviously France on home soil getting the job done. As we talk about the racing now, 7th win in history. They had the best team on paper, but obviously you got to be the best team on the day, and they really flexed their muscles, didn't they, mate? They were so good on that track. Rose to the occasion in front of those 102,000. You would have seen it all, mate. The flags, the flares, the chainsaws, the outfits. They really put on a show for their fans, didn't they? They put on an absolute clinic on that really hard, sketchy, sort of slippery track. Lots of sort of square edge bumps, lots of treacherous sections, a lot of really nasty crashes. And those guys just did it masterfully. Obviously, they got their line spot on, very incisive when they had to make the passes. And obviously, you had to set them up quite well on that track, mate, because it wasn't really easy to get through. So, yeah, they definitely did it so well, mate. And just a couple of stats from Paul Piercy for you, mate. Obviously, France laps led 19. Obviously, they had 2 of the fastest 3 laps. Obviously, Fevre in race 1, Renault in race 2, and I believe Lawrence actually had the fastest lap in the 3rd race, with Ken Roxon in 2nd, the only 2 in the 49s. So they were so impressive, but they did it all weekend, mate. Practice average 3.33, and they obviously had gate pick 26. Qualifying race finish average 2.33. Qualifying race first lap position 2.33. Race finish average 3.67. Obviously, Renault had the best average finish of a second, and the best average race first lap position 4.33. They just set it up perfectly, didn't they, mate? You can't really fault it, and being there in person, watching those masters of the craft must have been nothing short of impressive.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all teams had at least 2/3 of the team that was made by true champions, and one, I mean, difficult one rider that was the not the best possible pick. But this is what happened, when you try to do a team. And this was for almost everyone. I still think that Germany could maybe make a different choice with Max, that won in the previous weekend the ADAC title with a fantastic ride. But you never know, and it's up to the coach to make the team and to take the responsibility of doing it. And without the crash of Simon, for example, at the start of race 2, without some bad luck, they could have been on the podium quite easily. So there's no complaint to do, I think, for anybody. French was the only team with 3 world champions on, and that's something. And that's something you can see. 3 world champions and 3 incredible good riders. That, I mean, 2 of them, they will compete for the title next year in MXgp, Fevre and Renault. And the other one was, to me, one of the most impressive rider of the weekend, because what Tom Vial has have done in that second moto, it's something not common. Coming back that speed, and he explained in really easy way. He said, I was thinking in my head, that's my last moto of the season. Then I had some rest. I can go a little bit more, pushing a little bit more, because then I'm done, you know. And it was just look at him ending the pit lane, cornering, and doing that big corner before on the straight. It was just pure poetry, you know. It was fantastic. Another one that really was impressive, of course, was Jet Lawrence. Still some trouble with the starts, and then you can see it on the results, a part of the last race. But I was not that impressed at the lap time, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just, you know, playing it easy. But then the way he was coming back, it was fantastic, and the ride was looking so easy on a track that he knows probably, but he wasn't riding since a while. So he's another one that was impressing me a lot. But what I liked more, I think, on racing were the battles, you know, battles between Prado and Fevre. That was something that we were probably waiting more of this during the season. But then finally it happens during the nation, because they were free to do it. Even probably Romain was going a little bit too far. I mean, when you play the bigger, for the bigger prize, I had, in my opinion, it should have been easier and maybe just more relaxed, and took for a second place, safer second place. That would have been a fantastic result. But there is something more to play for next year. So I think that the fight was on a different level, you know. On I need to show you that I'm better than you. I need to show you what to expect next year. And our other fantastic fight was still again in between Romain and Alberto Forato.
Yeah.
We didn't saw everything on TV, but on live I saw so many crossing lines between those two guys. This was crazy. And we saw, honestly, few of the best battles of the year. And that's, I think, a good payback for the people that were there, because it was really intense. The fight was never there for the victory. I mean, French was too strong, too quick, too fast, still from Saturday, and nobody could really. But this is because, like Australia had a fantastic rider, Germany had a fantastic rider, but just one, you know. Same for Germany, same for all the top teams had one fantastic ride, not 3, and they got 3. So the fight for the victory was never there. The fight was for second, third, and fourth until the top 5. So I'm glad that Italy went third, but it was because we were lucky enough to put everything together and to avoid few mistakes. And we had a fantastic ride from Andrea Bonacorsi, who was honestly really surprising, because he took almost the team on his shoulder, and this third moto, starting from the last position after the crash at the starting gate, it was something great. I mean, he went back so fast, so quick, and then that was one of the results, one of the key to get on the podium, you know. And then Alberto did a fantastic race, of course, also, and Andrea, the second moto was fantastic while he was there fighting with the 350, with Liam Evers with the 350, and he almost got him, you know. So I think that all 3, they had a fantastic highlight, but we had a dramatic moment after the qualifying race, because we were like, okay, what happened now? And race 1 was a big disaster, big mess for Italy. So we were a little bit all like, okay, this year is for next year. But then the miracle happened, and the nation is like that. you need to put it together. It's not the individual performance that can change the results. It's everyone has to do it for the team.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. That's a great insight there. And just on the topic of, I guess, France and Italy, Bonacorsi, so impressive, mate. We've obviously talked about him, sung his praises a lot and how he's ready for that 450 class. He'll probably do the 1 year at MX2, obviously, next year with Yamaha announcing those structures, maybe 1 or 2 years. But either way, he's definitely ready for that bike. But still, to come in on that stage is so impressive, mate. And I guess you look at the future of Italian motocross and it's in good hands, isn't it? Obviously, the likes of Lupino and Cairoli and Monticelli are sort of, either gone or on their way out. And then you've got guys like Guadagnini, obviously Bonacorsi. Adamo is just an elite talent. Ferrato's got a great future. Then you got guys like Zanchi and Latta coming through. So how excited are you for the next generation coming through, mate? It's really cool. And you look at France too, they had a lot of excellent guys not there too, like Muscan obviously on his last legs, but Ferrandis, Beniston, Rossi, Patrell could have gone in there and they probably still would have won. So the depth of these countries, mate, it's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that we have to really consider the work and the job that is done by the federations and to develop the sport, keep the young talents growing and to come up till the main classes. All the guys you're talking about, like Bonacorsi, like Forato, Guadagnini, they all come from the program that is called Talenti Azzurri, the Italian young talents, So we have really to consider this. And like the French Federation is the one who is pushing and working more. We can compare their work to the work that Yamaha is doing with the Yamaha Blue Crew Trophy, and then let grow the riders with the GMC team, then Uten Metal, then Kemea, then the factory team. Okay, now for next year, this will be a different scale of value because Kemea will be on top and all the rest down. But it's a work that give its results only after years and years and years, because the selection must be really, really hard and tough, and you need to let the young kids grow in the nice way. Andrea, as you said, is ready for the 450. I think that 1 year in MX2 would be enough for him just before jumping on the big bike. We'll see which one, but I think that if he rides properly and well, it's really showed that he's ready. He was riding only 2 times with this bike, 1 or 2 times with this bike, but he's testing and he's training himself with the 450 since a while, and you can clearly see on the way he's riding. But his body is ready, he's so big and strong, but in the meantime, he's not big as Forato. So for the start and for those things, I think he will be better just on the physical point of view. So motocross looks good for Italy. The future of motocross looks good for Italy, for France, of course. But there are few nations that you see that are struggling to find good young talents, like UK, for example. The situation is not easy for them. And there are other federations where the situation is not good. Spain, for example, is growing, but still they need to find more young talents. But I mean, they have a 22 years old kid that is world champion of the Queen class. So it will come. And I think that Jorge is doing a fantastic work on promoting the sport in his country. He was on TV yesterday and today in Spain, and it's big what he did, and it's big what he's doing for the sport. So I'm pretty sure that plenty of young kids would like to approach now motocross, approach this sport, and as bigger is the field of young talents that approach the sport, as easy as it is to pick the few pure talent that can grow in a better way. On the other hand, I think that Andrea Adamo did a fantastic job this year with winning the title, and he represents the future of Italy in MX2. But if you look, as you said, to Zanchi, to Lata, to Mancini, that was on the podium in Matterley Basin with the 125, and he won the Blue Crew 125 trophy in Ernee. It's already someone that can, since Lata, again be competitive in the 125 class. Italy won with Lata last time in 2021, I guess, and in 2020 was Bonaccorsi in 125 winning the European title. And those European titles says a lot because for French was Beniston winning 125 and then 250, Rick Elzinga, Jago Gertz. So all those federations, like also the Dutch one, the Belgian one, are really present with the young talents, and you can see on the results of the European classes. Those European classes are really the place where to grow the young talent, and you can almost see maybe the nation of 2030 can be a fight in between France, Italy, Belgium, Holland, because you see already how many young talents are competing there. They will be the future of motocross. So.
And maybe even somewhere like Latvia, they're bringing through some good talent all the time too, aren't they?
Yes. East Europe is pushing hard. Latvia, it's incredible. It's such a small country. It's in terms of people, I think it's like one of the region of Italy, not more, like probably Lombardia, only one region out of 20 in Italy. But they grow a lot of young talents. In this case, I think it's the effect of having a world champion, like, for example, Paul Jonas, a Grand Prix there, and the academy from Infront there every year. So again, you can select riders, you can follow riders from close, and it works. You see, it works. Reisulis brothers are just one of the clear example of how it works well when you do the work since the beginning with those kids.
Yeah, it's really exciting. Obviously, Bidzarns is another great talent who won the most recent ADAC round. So they're just flowing with the talent, mate. So it'll definitely be interesting to keep an eye on that. Another country we have sort of spoken a little bit about, but not heaps, Germany. Obviously got some really exciting talents, and that ADAC series is really strong and really good crop of riders. And obviously, how good was it having Ken Roczen back, mate? Bringing that star power. Obviously, a guy you probably haven't seen in Europe for quite a while, but what a rider, run his class. His impressive 2023 continues, as we've discussed. He looks refreshed, revitalized. His focus is just recalibrated. He's got that freedom and just a masterclass again, seeing him out there doing it on the Suzuki. Obviously stalled it and getting the Kickstarter out. The fans sort of had a good little time with that one, but he's just the way he adapts to everything, Supercross, World Supercross, outdoors, SMX. It's just amazing. Motocross of Nations. He does it all. He's got all the skill, the speed. Just phenomenal rider, really, mate. Just sort of another testament to the class act he is, and another sort of stamp on his legacy, because I guess he really did deserve a podium for the team on that one. Another day, they probably should have had it, because obviously with Spain, which you can talk on too, Fernandez's crashes just cost them a podium, because they would, really should have got there. But he was riding well. He's just, that track was catching people out as well. And I guess when you look at Spain next year, Fares, obviously all the reports, so he's going to Rockstar Husky in America. So if he stays fit, he had some really great rides on the Star Racing program. Came out of nowhere really last year, didn't he, mate? So
yeah,
only really the hardcore fans were following what he was doing, in a little bit of MX2 and EMX. So exciting times ahead for them. And yeah, just your thoughts on those guys, mate. And how good was it just seeing Kenny back and in person?
Yeah. As I said at the beginning, it was so nice to see people that you don't see for a while. And that's, for example, with Ken was exactly like this. I mean, having Ken Roczen and Marvin Musquin in the same paddock in the meantime in France, sometime I was just turning around and say, oh my gosh, but this is, remembers me about 14, 15 years ago. It's an incredible amount of time. But in the meantime, when you think about how old is Ken Roczen, is only 29. What is, oh my gosh, he's still really young. I mean, Tony was riding till 36 years old. So what about having Ken for more, other 6-7 years on track? I don't know if this can happen, because the rhythm of the American competition is really, really higher than ours. So maybe, but what about maybe after this year, it will be in Suzuki, why not changing brand in 2 years, maybe thinking about coming back one day or with a new project, with whatever. So it's amazing to see those guys competing at this level. I think that it's a unique example of being so doing it easy in every classes, a little bit like Jet Lawrence, because Jet showed the same to be incredible on Supercross, on National, on Super Motocross, and at the Nations too. There are just a few of those riders in the world, in the history of the sport. There are only few of those talents out there, and few of those are like Ken and Jet, and it's amazing to see all those guys all together. We were just missing Jeffrey Erlings, because I think that with Jeffrey on track and maybe Chase Sexton, it could have been something never seen before. You know what I mean? But injuries are a part of the sport. Contracts are a part of the sport, so it wasn't possible. But still, it was incredible to have all them together on track. Okay, Marvin was just cheering for his team, and he was there because he planned to come back and to stay close to the French team, and to, of course, Tom Vial, because they create a very, very nice relationship over there. But yeah, I think it was fantastic. Germany deserves more, as you said, of course. It was a bit tough, the nation for them, with the crash and everything, because I think that Simon showed on the qualifying race, his speed, his skills are incredible. He wasn't that lucky. I think that few of the federation had to reconsider probably the position at the gate, because those were creating few troubles at the first corner. When you have the slowest rider because of the bike capacity on the inside, and the others on the outside, or vice versa, then you create troubles at the start, and it can be good for you or it can be really bad. Simon was just unlucky because people crashed in front of him and he could not avoid, and then he had a huge crash. I had some of the picture while he's really jumping in the air with the bike and everything. So, but still, without that crash, they could have been on podium for sure. No surprise from Oliver Oriol, unfortunately, because he wasn't really able to put on a proper performance. But I think that the pressure was really high on those guys. You know, him, Tom Koch, they were feeling really on their shoulder the pressure of an entire nation to get a result. Because when you have two of your two teammates, like, considered the strongest in MX2 and MXGP, or few of the strongest, like Simon and Ken, your position is quite tricky. You want to, of course, to give everything. And I think on the few that crack under the pressure, you can consider Ruben Fernandez, that was riding great till he started crashing, and then he didn't stop crashing till now. I think he's still probably crashing at home, because he did one crash every 2-3 laps. And that was a mess for him, because he was so good, you know. But then stuff like that can happen. And another one that was, for me, I wasn't expecting him crashing like that. I'm not crashing, but cracking under the pressure, was Tim Geyser. Geyser was never on top, but I know that he had arm pumps. I know that he was struggling. I know that he probably, I say, because I wasn't talking with him about this so frankly, but I think that he was just want too much for him, too much for his team, not for himself, of course, but for Slovenia. I want to carry on his shoulders Slovenia and take him to the historical results. The result came because they in top 10, they were qualified, and that's since maybe it's the first time. And so hat off, but it could have been so much better for him without this pressure, just riding easy, like the last race he did, you know, Matali Bessin or Turkey or Majora, just easy. But it was, I think, carry on too much and wanting maybe too much. But it's something that happened. I mean, it's just a race, but that makes it also really interesting.
Yeah, mate, it's really cool insight there. And Tim, the kit looked pretty cool. The Fox kit was looking great there. And same with the Americans, mate. We'll get onto them now. Obviously, they had a fair bit of pressure and weight of expectation coming in on them in many ways. It's just great they had a team after all the drama surrounding that, mate. But it was really cool to see those guys there, and they clearly liked the atmosphere. They had a great time. Obviously, the racing didn't quite go to plan. You know, Plessinger showed some really good speed. Hampshire as well. Christian Craig, you know, valiant effort going there. Obviously, he's only had around 6 weeks on the bike, and he obviously hasn't raced officially since Supercross. So that was a massive injury he was dealing with, mate. So respect to them for getting out there. They had a fair bit of bad luck thrown their way as well. But I suppose the numbers from Paul sort of sum it up. Obviously, the practice, their average was 8.33. Qualifying race finish was 6, so it started okay. Qualifying race first lap position 4th. And then on the Sunday, the race finish average 14.16 and the first lap position 16.67. Kind of sums up how their day went.
Yeah, I think that, of course, the guys deserve respect because of what they did. They take it over for their nation, and they wanted to do it well. Of course, compared to other times, the team was a little bit with less expectations, of course, but I think that with a little bit more luck, Aaron could do it even better than what he did. He was good on start, he was good on racing, but still, I think that the track have made a big difference for there, because they're not used to ride on track like that. The track was, for them, was really slippery, was really hard, but still, I think that you have to imagine that there was no rain on Ernee for like the last 2 months. So I think that they did the best they could have done with what they had. And the track was quite good. We saw a lot of overtaking, a lot of passes, and this is usually the problem with tracks in Europe. Not enough lines, no places where to pass. But when you see a lot of passes, this says a lot about how the track is well prepared. Of course, the nations make it easier because of difference of capacity of the bikes. Riders that are coming from completely different environments. So you can have a rider that is competing in EMX 125 that is then with a 250 bike, or a rider that is competing in the European 250 that is with mxgp bike. So this makes it easy to make the difference in between a Fevre and just to say a name like a Reisulis, you know, and it's easier to have an overtake. But in the meantime, I think that for the tracks in Europe are still a little bit more difficult than what it seems. Then what I have to say that in 2005 I was there, and I saw the American riders of that time being the best rider of the competition, you know, and to ride over the problems, ride over the track, and doing it properly and beating one of the strongest French team ever, because in 2005 was Michael Pichon with Sébastien Tortelli and David Vuillemin, 3 American rider again, you know, but French, and they lost. I mean, they were second, but yeah. And in 2015 they ended second again, the American riders. So they were there for the competition. Maybe never challenging for the victory, but they were there on the second spot of the podium. This year, I think that 2/3 of the champion of the riders, of the American riders, were a little bit not at the same level of what it could have been with taking other riders, but they were not available. They did their best. They were probably a little bit surprised, but this is how it happens here. Matterly Bessin will fit better probably to them, and it will fit better to them next year, that's for sure. But still, we have to consider that in Europe, having riders like we have at the moment, it's really difficult to beat them. I would see honestly what happened in Red Bull this year with the French team, like this, with Fevre in these conditions. with Maxime Renault in these conditions and with Tom Vial in this condition. Last year, the French team didn't have Vial because of an operation. They didn't have many. And Romain wasn't probably riding. So they had Dylan Ferrandis, they had Maxime Renault. You see, it's another level of an overall team.
No, Marvin.
And Marvin. Wow. Yeah, you're right. But the Romain of this year, it's not, I would not say unbeatable because he was beaten in the third moto, but it's on an incredible moment. Tom, we all have seen how he's able to do, what he's able to do. And I think that Maxime rode the best race of his season so far, and also wanted to show what he is able to do next year. So I think that the tracks problem we have to consider just because of the quality of the riders. If you take the top of the top, they will just fight on the almost equal level. But this year there was a little more gap than usual in between the American team and the best European teams. So it's just this. With this, I don't want to underestimate nobody of the American riders. Hat off for what they did to come here, to take this responsibility and to ride on a track that they never seen before, like for RJ Hampshire and Christian Craig and Plessinger was the first time in Ernee. And it's never easy to ride for the first time on a track like Ernee in front of a public like this, a crowds like this, in this kind of atmosphere. So well done, guys. I really hope that you all can come over in next year in UK at Matterley Basin, and I'm pretty sure that we will see already a different race at that time.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's really cool stuff. And yeah, I think all the riders will be really keen to hit that Matterley circuit because it's definitely one of the favorites across all riders around the world. So that'd be really cool. And on the topic of just America, before we sort of finalize the last few teams on the nations, obviously Prado's obviously off to do some supercross testing, which will be really exciting for him. But it is a little bit of a problem, I guess. A lot of these GP riders wanting to go to America, it's sort of going to hurt the series. Obviously, guys like Beniston, a lot of those French riders, really technical. You look at Rossi, Vallon, all these guys, they're probably going to be, it's on their radar to head to America. Even De Wolf might be off one day. Spies was even telling me, because he's a really good jumper and got a lot of bike skill, he would love to do Supercross, got that tall frame. So a lot of guys have their eyes on that as part of the pathway in their careers. So what's your thoughts on it, mate? It's going to be pretty hard to cope for MXGP with losing all those talents, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. Also, for example, the Coonan brothers, they
Coonan brothers, yep.
America. So it looks like almost, a lot of young talents want to go America one day. That's still the dream for many. And with the Super Motocross final series going on with those kind of prizes, it's even more, money is there. And when money is there, people are, of course, more interested in going there. But I think that somehow it's interesting. It's even more interesting to see the American Championship being colonized by the European talents. It's since the first Frenchie that were going there, like MXoN, like Jean-Michel Bail the first, all succeed. They almost all succeed. Of course, not all, but many of those riders, they went there and they succeed. That's the case for Jean-Michel Bail, for Michael Pichon, is the case, of course, for Marvin Musquin, for Ken Roxen, for many of the young, Dylan Ferrandis, the best probably European rider ever in terms of championship achieved, So it's interesting to see how the motocross, the European motocross, is still able to produce talents that are going there and win there. Of course, it's a little problem for us because we are losing fantastic talents. But in the meantime, we have a kind of factory, a talent factory in Europe, because we are growing so many. But that's just because we have many federations, many nations, And every nation is trying to do better. You know that in between Italy and France, for example, the two federations, they have a trophy for the young kids every year. That is the trophy Italy-France. Every year they do the race, one in Italy, one in France. I mean, 1 year in Italy, 1 year in France, the year after again in Italy and then in France, where just the young riders, the super young, 65, 85, they fight each other, and it's just a trophy. It doesn't really matter the results at the end, but it's because of the rivalry growing, and is to stimulate the young kids to grow, to do better, and to have always a good relationship with the other federation, but in the meantime, to being able to just, you look at what they do and you try to learn, and you show what you do. And in this way, we have in the last 20 years, I cannot even count how many young talents we grow in Europe, and we have just coming into the series, and few of them are going to US, of course. There will be no place for everyone. Sometime they go, they try, and then maybe they don't succeed, or they will one day. Like, for example, Fares, I hope he will succeed in America for him. But in Europe, it's far to have demonstrated something, really, winning even a European championship. He was a good rider. He went there and he found his way, probably there. He will maybe succeed one day. But when you go there without having won in Europe, it's always much more difficult. When you show that you are able to win in Europe, then it's more easy to win there. And that's the case for many of those riders. And again, I was talking with the Lorenz father in Ernee, and he told me something really easy. He said, I wish that all the Australian riders that wants to come to America, they spend time before in Europe, but not one season, years in Europe to grow before coming there. Because for Jet and for Hunter was fundamental to be in Europe before, to grow, and to then go winning. So they have probably the factory of the money, but we have the factory of the talents. And okay, many of those guys go to America. There will be no place for everyone, that's for sure. So not all they can go there in a factory team with good facilities. Few, they succeed. Even without succeeding properly, they found a job and they get paid for, and they make their life with. For example, Noren. Noren is one of the riders that never done anything in Europe, and he will probably never did so much in Europe. But there, he found his way. He's riding, he's competing, he's paid for, and hat off. That's a real bet, but he won his bet, and he's doing what he likes to do in that championship. For what consider the top talents, yeah, that's a problem to lose it. But as I said, we have a kind of factory, and we replace those riders. 2 years ago, nobody knew nothing about the Coonan brothers, and now we're all scared that they can leave. I hope they don't. Probably they will, but we will have other riders coming up from the European Championship and take over, and then they will just fight at the nation once again, and it will be cool. So it's a rivalry between two different worlds, two different ways to see the races. And on another hand, if I can say, I'm not super enthusiastic about the super motocross. And I was talking with few persons from America at Ernee this weekend, and they all agreed that it could be, and it could end a little bit like the Monster Energy Cup in few seasons, because it's really massive, but still on the sport side, not sure that is the best possible event. But we will see. I don't want to talk bad about anything. It's just my opinion about this series.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, it makes for good conversation. It's really cool to hear your thoughts on it. And I guess we just heard the other day Talvika, who's going to be heading to America, a guy who's shown that he's a very capable rider, done some outdoors, and it's cool that he's grasped an opportunity to go there. And I guess some of the Americans, they see riders from all over, not necessarily just Europe. Obviously, you got Shimoda as well doing his thing, but a lot of the time, those top spots, podium spots, are filled by the Lorenz brothers, Vial, Shimoda, Ferrandis. You know, it's got to be sort of a a bit of a reality check for America in a lot of ways in how they're doing things. Obviously, the amateur programs, they're very good, proven ones. They're such elite supercross riders, and the skills are there. But they're always looking at gaining ideas from the EMX series. You hear that openly with the combines they're running. So it's interesting if they can sort of obviously share ideas and work together. Obviously, it looks like they're got a pretty good relationship with the nations and, in front working with Davey Coombs and the team down there. So it'll be interesting, obviously, looking at Ironman for the next nations after Madley Basin. Is that the word going around, mate? You think that'll happen? And just your chat on the relationship between all these federations and organizations. I guess it can only be good for the sport to elevate things.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that that it will be like that. There is a new generation of American riders that is coming up, like Aiden Deegan or Ryder DiFrancesco or all those kids, as we had also in past few of the greatest young talents from America. They didn't succeed because of problems, because of injuries or stuff like that. I remember Austin Faulkner for me was, wow, someone, amazing. I even tried at the time when I was working in Honda to let him come to Europe to do a few races or stuff like that. But it's a kind of stuff that can happen with the young riders. But I think that there is a new generation that is coming up, but there is a kind of empty spot in between the top talents that are at the end of their career, because Tomac, Barcia, those riders are ending their careers. Okay, there is Chase Sexton that is coming up. There are a few others that are coming up, but even Webb is somehow at the end of his career, and the young are really, really young. So, like, for example, Aiden Deegan, that looks impressive, is
and
still
Thomas.
really young. Yeah, also, of course. But yeah, we're gonna see what happened. There is maybe somewhere they should like pushing again a little bit more on the amateur program that is really developed in America. It should work. Normally it works pretty well, but it's also a huge change. What I didn't expect at all 10 years ago is that motocross in Europe could have been developed in such a good way. Let grow so many young talents. It was a moment where it was looking that our sport was going slightly down because of how demanding it is for the riders on every point of view, physically, painfully, whatever. It was a little bit like, say, okay, new generation, they prefer video games, they prefer the mobile phone, iPhone and stuff, and not, are not ready really to push on the physical sport. In fact, 10 years after, we can say that we are growing some of the biggest talents ever in Europe. So, I mean, the situation looks really good.
Yeah, it's good, mate. Great racing all over the globe for the fans, and it's really cool to obviously see the melting pot come at events like the Motocross of Nations. And I guess before we wrap it up, mate, just some final thoughts on the nations. Obviously, Everts on the 350 for Belgium was really impressive. You talked to his dad. His great year continued, really impressive, held his own there and felt comfortable on that bike. And Lucas Kernan and Jago Geerts probably would have expected a bit better weekend, but the kits looked great, mate. They were really impressive. And the Netherlands, you got to feel sorry for them because they probably would have been pretty up there with the podium at least, with Koldenhoff sadly getting injured on the Saturday and Blandren and De Wolf sort of valiantly battling on. It must be a bit of a strange mindset when you sort of know you can't really do much, but it's the last race of the year. You don't want to get hurt. There's just for pride at that point for your country and yourself. And just a couple of really nasty crashes. We saw obviously Havisto's one was absolutely frightening down the hill there. And obviously Grant Harlan suffered a really brutal injury from his one. So hopefully he's all right. It looks like he should be okay, hopefully, when he gets back to America. But yeah, there was some nasty ones, mate. The track was catching people out, but there was some sort of pretty cool stuff below the top podium guys too, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking with his father from Liam, and I was talking with his grandfather also. And that was something really cool because mostly of the time we miss a little part of the story while I was leaving one part of Stefan career, so I know how much he won. I know how strong he was. I saw him riding. I lost with my team plenty of time against him, so it's still fresh in my mind. But of course, what his father has done, Harry, is not so fresh in my mind. I never saw him riding. Then while I was talking with him on TV, he said, "Yeah, I won 8 times the nations." I was, oh my God, how it's possible to win 8 times the nation? Even Gauthier Paulin never won 8 times the nation. He won the nation 5 times. But yeah, apart of the jokes, it's incredible. And he said, yes, it was cool. I won with the Bultaco. And when the Americans were coming to look at the bike, they said, what this bike is? We never heard about this bike. They were only on Honda, Kawasaki, Yamaha, They never heard about the Bultaco. And the kid at that time, having even the poliomyelite when he was young, so with one offense leg and still today not able to walk properly, he won with this bike in front of the Americans. He beat the Americans with this bike, and he was so proud about. But he said, I don't remember how many times I did the nation. It's difficult to count, but I know that I won 8 times with the team, of course. And he always said, with the team and not personally. And that says a lot about how the people can be still humble with 4 world titles, 8 nation won, being the father of the 10-time world champion and the grandfather of a world championship rider, but still so humble to always say, but I didn't won 8 times. The team have won 8 times with me in the team. So that's fantastic, It says really a lot about the person, about how good the people can be. I was disappointed, honestly, about Iago Ger's performance. I didn't saw him so much, but to me, I was expecting much more from him. Maybe the track was not the best for him, mostly after the huge crash and injury that he had this year in Villars-sous-Écot. The big downhill reminds maybe a little bit about that place where he crashed so heavily. But I was expecting a little bit more, as he did fantastically with the 450 last year in Red Bud. Probably the big advantage at the moment for KTM is to have a 350. What gives in the open class to the riders a nice weapon, without having all this power to manage. And it's a very enjoyable bike. Tony, I think, was working quite a lot on this 350 during this year, and I think that Liam probably was one of the most surprising rider of the Nation 2023. It's not a surprise that he's a very good rider, but he was able to put on some of the best performance as Andrea Bonaccorsi. So I would say, if I have to pick 2 surprises, 2 best ride compared to the expectation, those are Andrea Bonaccorsi and Liam Everts. I was underestimate their potential with the 350 and the 450. For what consider the riders that didn't surprise me at all or disappointed me a little bit, Iago Gers was one of the riders. Lucas Koinen was won the Ricky Award, the Ricky Carmichael Award as the best young rider, and I think he's the best accomplishment for his season so far. Even if his performances through the weekend weren't like wow, those are amazing, like he have done during, like, in Germany or in Indonesia. On the other hand, Kaide Wolf also was, to me, a little bit not at his best, and the poor Glenn Koldenhoff ended in the worst possible way the last race with Yamaha. I mean, with the blue Yamaha, because next year he will have a white Yamaha probably, or something similar with a Fantic bike. I'm joking. I know that is a proper Fantic. This time we will see a real Fantic bike for 50. They are already testing, and the bike will look great. But that was just a joke. But for what consider Glenn, it was really a shame. And I have to say that I went there just occasionally to make an interview to Jeremy Sewer at the end of race 1, and he was there, and he was already changed in normal clothes as Jeremy Sewer was still in racing clothes, and I didn't realize that he came out with a big injury, with a big crash, and he was unable to ride. So I didn't talk with him about this. I'm sorry for this, for the spectators and for him, but I didn't realize at that moment, that exactly moment, that he was over, he was out. So that was a shame, because it was Saturday, and I could have been something to talk about. And it's a shame for him, because it's really someone that put a lot of effort for the national team, and that always want to succeed and do something special for his team. And I'm pretty sure that for his last race with Yamaha, he wanted to do pretty well. But the nation is also this. The track was sketchy on mostly on traction, so a few nasty crash happened, but I won't say that it was a dangerous track on the other hand.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And obviously, yeah, congratulations to France getting it done. Australia, that's their best ever finish, mate, following on from the third last year in Italy. Great weekend for us too, mate, with Italy getting third. So really impressive, mate. So that's kind of wraps up our Nations podcast. And just wanted to personally thank you and the mxvice team for joining us on these podcasts, taking the time. We really appreciate it. Lorenzo, the fans absolutely love it. We get so much great listen numbers. The feedback's really good. So we're so grateful for you taking the time to join us, mate. We definitely really appreciate it. And hopefully we can do a few more ones in the off season, maybe get a rider to do an interview with us or do something like this, just to talk about some old school motocross or whatever, mate, because we're definitely grateful and look forward to partnering up next year as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Of course, to me, it was always a pleasure. It looks more like a chat with a friend that share the same passion. So people don't know, because they listen only at our 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, 2 hours talking, but we sometimes do 3 hours talking about everything before and after the podcast. But it's always a pleasure. It was a big honor for me to be on board this year. As you know, I always love to talk after the races, because there is something more interesting to talk about, and because when I'm there on the field, on track, I feel that I can bring something, some behind the scenes, some inside, that are interesting for the public. Sometimes it's cool to talk about the past, about my last 20 years career, but it was really a big pleasure. We will see if maybe in future we will go on. Next year we will start again with doing it, because it will be for sure a pleasure for me to do it. But it was a great honor for me to do it, and to have such a big, I would say, a big place where to be free to talk, to say whatever I think, what I really think, without any kind of limitation. And when you are have this big stage, and you can talk with, probably we can talk about thousands of people, or even more than thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. It's a big responsibility, but it's honestly it's fantastic. So it's me saying thank you to you, of course, to James, to all mxvice, and yeah, looking forward, of course.
Yeah, mate. Cheers, mate. It's been absolutely awesome. And just before I let you go, obviously, what are the plans for the off season, mate? You got any holidays lined up, anything like that? Some cool things in the works, no doubt. You'll be a very busy man still, but obviously been a massive year for you, mate. It's a very busy one, getting all the races, doing the nations, doing the extra media work. You got a lot of things on your plate. So yeah, we're grateful you fitted in. But what are the plans, mate?
At the moment, the plan is to take it easy this week. 1 weekend home finally. Then I will go to Sicily, as the authorities in Sicily want to make a nice reward to Andrea Adamo for his title, and I will be the voice there. And from there, I will move to Tony's hometown, birth town, so where in Patti, and where every year we have some of the best moment of the year, really relaxed on some point, on the other really demanding, because we do whatever is possible in 4 days, from driving go-karts, riding enduro bike, playing football, playing paddle, doing really whatever. But it's the most enjoyable moment of the season. So it will take 1 week approximately to do everything. Then I will be back for another weekend. And then it's EICMA time, where a lot of news, a lot of stuff happen. I work there. I work for television, for the races there. We do Supercross European Italian Championship. We do some hard enduro Italian Internazionale d'Italia Championship, Supercross Internazionale d'Italia Championship, and I do TV there. I do plenty of little things. I will maybe still work for RAM also in EICMA to do some event because they want to get the partnership maybe with EICMA. So it will be, I think, still busy till middle of November, and then not really holiday, but a little bit cool down, and I will take easy, you know, the last weekends of the year.
Oh, mate, it's impressive. And yeah, 2024 will roll around sort of extremely quickly as well, no doubt. And before we wrap this one up, we'd like to thank the sponsors in AS3 Performance Parts, the home of aftermarket motocross enduro parts, from hardware and protection parts, including skid plates and radiator braces, to performance cooling parts, including silicone radiator hoses and oversized impeller kits. AS3 also have a huge range of brake, clutch, and gear levers, all with different features and adjustability. Check them out online at as3performance.co.uk. Obviously, Kawasaki Motors UK, the KLX 140R range has been a great sponsor of the show. The lineup offers a 144cc engine, plush suspension, and push-button electric start, making for great trailblazers. The KLX 140R machines come in 3 different sizes, ranging from junior's first tentative steps to pushing the door wide open on adult riding. Contact your local off-road dealership for more information. All right, thanks again, Lorenzo. It's been an absolute blast doing these podcasts this season, mate. All the best for the busy off-season, and we look forward to maybe pumping a couple of these out during then, and we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks for everything, and looking forward to hear from you. Ciao, mate.
No worries. Pleasure. Thanks, mate.